the liberal axis, the conservative axis, and the libertarian. So there's three major groupings. So this is all USA stuff. But he's I don't know whether he's actually done factor analysis, but he must have done something like that, because he's ended up with 6 components of morality that are relevant to political opinion. And the absolutely fascinating thing about this is that liberals and libertarians are very strongly polarized onto 1 or 2 of those 6 moral axes. Whereas conservatives have a balanced view across all 6.
Wow.
And in particular, there's 3 moral principles, and I'll probably forget what they are, which are associated solely with conservatism. And I think they're loyalty, sanctity, and there's one other, I forget, but they're very much to do with traditional conservative views. Virtues, yeah. So, but the interesting thing is the liberals are specifically liberals are very strongly focused on the care-harm axis, and harm being the opposite.
Right.
So that's what they're very, very strongly focused on. So you can potentially appeal to young people initially through that moral dimension. This has got to be cunningly thought out. How can we get up?
Yes.
So you can see how this works in COVID. They've been working the care harm axis in COVID like crazy. And I said from the start, this lockdown business is going to create more harm than good. That seemed obvious to me right from April 2020.
Yes.
Yeah.
And why were they not doing that? Well, it's because of the bloody moral infantilism and the fact that the left has polarized onto the care harm axis almost entirely. So that's where this is coming from. It's entirely consonant with Jonathan Haidt's work. It's quite fascinating.
Gotta read that one.
If you're trying to get a window on people's minds, that's the window. That's the door through which you can get into them, and then hopefully expand their horizons. So the two views I had in terms of the approach here then would be, I'll just concentrate on one because it's following that theme, and you might like this, Tom. Positive psychology.
Yes, there you go.
Positive psychology.
Yes.
I did a double take when I still don't really know much about it, but I did a double take when I realised that one of the key components of that, what's his name?
Seligman, yeah.
Yeah. One of his key issues in positive psychology is practice of the virtues.
Really?
Yes, yeah,
I did not know that.
I've listed them out. This comes from a positive psychology site.
How about that?
Yeah. It says, positive psychology, the organisation of the 6 virtues into 24 strengths as follows. Wisdom and knowledge, creativity, curiosity, open-mindedness, love of learning, perspective, innovation, prudence, courage, bravery, persistence, vitality, zest, humanity, love, kindness, social intelligence, justice, citizenship, fairness, leadership, integrity, excellence, temperance, forgiveness and mercy and humility and self-control, transcendence, appreciation of beauty, gratitude, hope, humour and spirituality. I mean, I could have written this.
That's a great list.
And the point is, he's saying that if you practice those virtues, it will improve your own well-being, as well as the well-being of society around you. I mean, this is bloody perfect.
Yeah, it really is. That's a good point.
And so this will appeal, I think, to the morally undereducated young, because this is the way in to them. This is the way to smuggle the virtues into them.
Virtue smuggler. That's good. I like that. Because that's what we need to be thinking about, is how can we help people become more into virtue, And I think one thing is to start with our own anchor, making sure that we are anchored, making sure that we are following as much virtue as we possibly can. Mm-hmm. And then calling people out, calling things and saying, that's immoral. That's mm-hmm. immoral. And make that argument, put it out there. Because you could say until you're blue in the face, men are 50% of the domestic violence victims. That it's not going to go anyplace. But that's immoral what you're doing. You're going to have to fight with that.
That's it, exactly. Words are very important.
Yes.
Took me a long time to realize that,
Yeah.
My natural milieu is algebra rather than words. Ironical coming from someone that's written so much. But
what you've taught me is that morality needs to be a central core in what we're doing to try and change things.
That is my central message.
Yes. Sure. And when we can do that, I think we're on the right path.
The only other thing is in terms of attack. I mean, there are many.
I love that one.
We go on the attack.
Attack, baby.
Being defensive is no good. That's not presenting us in the right light at all.
Yep.
But one thing we could do there's probably many things you could adopt in terms of attack. But the one that I favour, and this sounds horribly like Mgtow, but it isn't really. It's to set up organisations whose sole purpose is to convey to young people the factual position on relationships, marriage, divorce, separation, child custody, all the fact, and who's paying and extent of fatherlessness, just facts and figures, and so that they know what the position is, because we're doing young men a disservice, allowing them to blunder into having children which they have no secure paternity over.
Yes.
We're allowing them to blunder into this. Now, I don't believe in telling other people what to do, but I do believe that before people get engaged in something that is potentially hazardous, they should be properly trained and informed.
Amen to
that. You don't go off doing deep sea diving without just buy an aqualung and jump in.
Man, that's the truth. And parenting is 100 times more important.
So we got to tell them the position, and that would lead to a natural attack. I mean, you can say these are the facts, but based on these facts, we have a position that you may want to adopt. It's not obligatory, but we would adopt a mantra: no marriage, no cohabitation, no babies, until the system changes.
Yes.
Until we get what Stephen Baskerville was putting forward: no marriage, no cohab, no babies.
Indeed.
It's a sort of strike position.
Yes. And my only problem with that strike position is that the people striking are the very people we want to have babies. And
we do.
If they don't have babies, then there's not going to be any progeny to carry on,
I know it's a very difficult message, but the analogy is with other strikes. People who strike don't strike because they don't want to work. They very much do want to work.
Yes.
But the only weapon they have is the withholding of their labour. That is the traditional working class position.
Yes.
And men are now in that position. We have to find a source of power. This is what I keep coming back to. Truth is not power. Morality is a source of power, which is why we've got to leave it that. But another source of power is men are still earning most of the money.
I'll tell you what.
And men have a monopoly on sperm. Those are two sources of power. And we can withhold that by no marriage, no cohab, no babies, until something, because we're going down the tubes anyway, Tom.
We are. I'll tell you what.
If we don't win this battle, it's not just that men are going to suffer, and not just that children are going to suffer, but the whole of Western civilization is going down the bloody tubes.
I agree. And you made me think that if working class men struck, the world would stop. And that could have a huge impact on things. I guess we'll see. We lost Janice.
We have lost Janice.
I'm not sure exactly where she went. I have a feeling she'll be back momentarily, but I think we're about ready to finish up anyway, unless you had more to say, Ray.